Howdy, I'm Clint Walker and you're watching GVTV News.
Thanks, Clint. And I'm Randy Hansen. In today's World News headlines, Missouri governor activates National Guard before Michael Brown decision. And parents of Peter Kasich issue call to prayer for all prisoners. The report says over 1,400 Syrians killed by Islamic State Muslim terrorists, and in Jerusalem, 6 dead after attack on synagogue. Insurgent brought from Sierra Leone dies of Ebola in U.S. And a report says Congo police kill 51 youth. And talks on Iran's nuclear program open in Vienna to some people. Senate to consider bill on curbing NSA's surveillance, and Senate to vote on Keystone XL oil pipeline. And in Britain, student convicted in terrorism trial held largely in secret. And in Greece, 40,000 march against austerity at 41st anniversary of student uprising. And Colombia suspends FARC peace talks after generals kidnapping. And Greenpeace activists injured after Spanish Navy rams boats. And in a report, 1 in 30 U.S. children are homeless. An undocumented mother takes sanctuary from deportation in Philadelphia church. And Time magazine apologizes for suggesting feminists should be banned. And transgender activist Leslie Feinberg, author of Stone Butch Blues, dies at 65. GVTV News is broadcast on Grass Valley Television, division of Rural Counties Television Network, whose focus is on community involvement. We also air on NCTV. But before these stories, GVTV News would like to thank one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us. GVTV News. In today's first World News story, Missouri Governor Jay Nixon has declared a state of emergency ahead of the grand jury's decision on whether to indict the police officer who killed Michael Brown. Michael Brown was shot dead by Officer Darren Wilson in Ferguson, August 9th. Since then, mass protests against police brutality have erupted in Missouri and across the country. On Monday, Nixon issued an executive order to activate the National Guard in response to what he called the possibility of expanded unrest. Grand jury has been meeting in secret for nearly 3 months, and several groups have vowed to escalate protests if they choose not to indict. A decision would come any day. Race baiters have been stirring up trouble on this issue. Parents of U.S. aid worker executed by Islamic State Muslim terrorists have spoken out for the first time since the death of Peter Kasich. Paul and Ed Kasich remembered their son, who was also known as Abdul Rahman, after he converted to Islam in captivity. And they said, "Our hearts are battered, but they will mend. The world is broken, but it will be healed in the end, and good will prevail, as one God of many names will prevail. Ed Keswick said, please pray for Abdul Rahman or Pete, if that's how you know him. At this sunset evening, pray also for all people in Syria, in Iraq, and around the world. Monitoring group says the Islamic State Muslim terrorists have killed more than 1,400 Syrians in non-battlefield attacks. According to Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, most of those killed were civilians. U.S. airstrikes against the Islamic State animals in Iraq and Syria have continued, with more than 30 since Friday. In Jerusalem, 2 Palestinians wielding a meat cleaver and gun attacked worshippers at a Jewish synagogue, killing 4 people before the attackers were shot dead. 6 people were injured. It was the deadliest such incident to hit Jerusalem since 2008. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has vowed to wage a harsh response, while Secretary of State John Kerry condemned attacks as an act of pure terror. Killings came a day after a Palestinian bus driver was found hanged in his vehicle in what Israel's authorities say were suicide. A surgeon brought to the United States over the weekend after contracting Ebola in Sierra Leone has died, marking the second Ebola fatality in the United States. Martin Salia was a native of Sierra Leone and legal permanent resident of the United States. His wife, who lives in Maryland, reportedly paid $200,000 to fly him to the United States, but by the time he arrived, he had been sick for nearly 2 weeks. Dr. Dan Johnson, director of critical care at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, said Salia was critically ill when he was admitted and said he had no kidney function. He was working extremely hard to breathe, and he was unresponsive. Within the first few hours of his arrival, we started running continuous dialysis, and within the first 12 hours, he had progressed to complete respiratory failure, requiring intubation and mechanical ventilation. Doctors said Salia received the same treatments as other Ebola patients in the United States, including a dose of the extremely rare experimental drug, ZMapp. A new report accuses police in the Democratic Republic of Congo of similarly killing at least 51 youths and disappearing 33 others during an anti-crime campaign launched last year. Human Rights Watch says a uniformed police dragged suspected gang members from their homes at night, then killed them. The latest round of nuclear talks between Iran and the United States and 5 other world powers has opened in Vienna, Austria. Talks are aimed at reaching a deal over Iran's disputed nuclear program before a deadline next Monday. In the United States, Senate lawmakers are set to vote on whether to advance a measure of the reign of the National Security Agency's Dragnet surveillance program, the USA Freedom Act, sponsored by Vermont Democratic Senator Patrick Leahy, would curb the bulk collection of telephone records by requiring the NSA to make specific requests to phone companies for a user's data rather than vacuuming up all records in a given area. It would also create a panel to advocate the privacy rights before a secret foreign intelligence surveillance court. Major tech companies, including Facebook, Google, and Twitter, have backed the bill, saying it would let them provide more transparency by government demands for user data. Privacy groups have also backed the bill, despite seeing it as a compromise that would still leave room for abuses. Senate is set to vote on a bill to approve the Keystone XL oil pipeline, and actually that vote was taken today and it failed. President Obama had signaled the way he vetoed the measure, backed by Louisiana Democratic Senator Mary Landrieu, who faces a tight runoff and re-election. On Monday, protesters rallied outside Landrieu's home, holding a sign that read, "Senator Landrieu, if you're not a climate denier, don't vote like one." Pipeline would carry carbon-intensive tar sands oils from Alberta, Canada. Well, actually, what it would do is create a lot of jobs and help us get our own fuel and things like that, oil-based products in the United States, instead of having to go to the Middle East. In Britain, a law student has been convicted on terrorism charge following trial that largely conducted in secret. Errol Incidal was found guilty of possessing a bomb-making document last Tuesday, but a judge barred the media from reporting the verdict until Monday. Much of the evidence against Incidal was heard in secret after prosecutors cited national security concerns. In Athens, tens of thousands of people marched to oppose austerity and commemorate the 41st anniversary of the student uprising against Greece's military dictatorship. Demonstrators, policed by some 7,000 officers, marched on the U.S. Embassy to protest U.S. backing for the dictatorship, which lasted from 67 to 74. Protester Demetrius Populus said 4 decades later the legacy of the student protests continues, and said some 40 years later the message from the Polytechnic is still alive, because then there was a junta, and today we are imprisoned by the Euro and European Union and the IMF and all these unpopular measures that have degraded the middle class and the youth. They have made us poor. Colombia has suspended talks with FARC rebels and launched a massive search after the rebels kidnapped an army general. Kidnapping over the weekend marks the first time the FARC has taken a general hostage. General Ruben Dario Alzate, I think, had reportedly entered the area of civilian clothes to visit an energy project. Talks aimed at ending the 50-year conflict with FARC were due to resume, but Colombia President Juan Manuel Santos suspended them and ordered the rebels to release the general and 2 other people who were captured with him. The environmental group Greenpeace says one of its activists had her leg broken and 3 others were also injured after a confrontation with the Spanish Navy during a protest against oil exploration off the Canary Islands. Video footage shows Spanish naval vessels ramming into the Greenpeace dinghies. Greenpeace spokesperson Julio Barrier said the Navy's response shows the power of the oil firms like Spanish company Repsol, who is exploring oil in the sea, and said it was disproportionate. We didn't expect that state of force, but I repeat, it shows how the government supports the interests of multinational like Repsol and disregards the activist groups and Canary Island environmentalists and governments of the Canaries and the Spanish society in general. New report finds the number of homeless children in the United States surged 8% last year to a record high of 2.5 million. That means that 1 in 30 children in the United States are homeless. National Center for Family Homelessness says the crisis has reached epidemic proportions fueled by factors of racial inequality, violence, and lack of affordable housing, and probably lack of a fence to our borders because everybody just comes here all the time. In Philadelphia, an undocumented mother of 2 U.S. citizens has taken sanctuary from her deportation order inside the church. Angela Navarro, whose children are 8 and 11, are among the millions of people who could potentially benefit from Obama's issue of executive order to end record deportations. According to the faith-based group New Sanctuary Movement, Navarro is the 9th immigrant nationwide to take sanctuary in a church after receiving a final deportation order, and the first on the East Coast. And Time magazine has apologized for including the word feminist on a poll of words that should be banned in 2015. Time apparently included feminist in response to a growing number of celebrities, from Beyonce to Taylor Swift, who have embraced the term. Time's suggestion the term should be banned sparked massive protests, prompting the Time manager-editor Nancy Gibbs to issue an apology, saying, while we meant to invite debate about some ways the word was used this year, that nuance was lost. No, you can't say anything against that or anything like that nowadays. Pioneer transgender activist Leslie Feinberg, author of groundbreaking novel Stone Butch Blues, has died at age 65, according to a obituary by her partner and spouse, Minnie Bruce Pratt. Feinberg died at home in Syracuse, New York, after a decades-long battle with a tick-borne infection, including Lyme's disease. Her last words were, "Remember me as a revolutionary communist." And that's it for World News today. Now, another thanks to one of our underwriters who supports your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. That's right. It's time for the police blotter pictures in the blotter, not from these actual events, but used for visual only. These public records are obtained from daily logs issued from Nevada County law enforcement. Grass Valley Police Department on Sunday, 12:45 a.m. A caller from a business, 900 block of Sutton Way, reported a fight with a broken front window. A man was arrested on suspicion of vandalism. 5:58 a.m. A woman reported being stalked by county workers and police officers. She was uncooperative. And 10:40 a.m. A caller from Sutton Way reported a man yelling and grabbing a woman. And 12:48 p.m. a caller from 200 block of Hughes Road reported a juvenile throwing rocks at his parents. Juvenile was arrested on suspicion of vandalism and battery. 1:43 p.m. a caller from 300 block of Cambridge Court reported a detention camp and was arrested on an outstanding warrant. At 9:15 p.m. a caller from 300 block of Mill Street reported a man yelling and pounding on a sliding door. He was waiting for a taxi and possibly had mental health issues. Monday, 6:22 a.m. caller from Highway 49 south of McKnight Way reported a vehicle hit a bear which ran from the area. In Nevada County Sheriff's Office on Sunday, 10:24 a.m. caller from 11,000 block on Northview Drive reported residential burglary with the suspects fleeing when the alarm sounded. At 12:26 p.m. a caller reported seeing Facebook posts stating that there might be a fight at Western Gateway Park at 6 p.m. between two men. At 1:41 p.m. a caller from 16,000 block of Meadowbrook Court reported a man screaming and yelling and acting weird. At 3:06 p.m. a caller from Nevada Union High School reported two juveniles riding mini motorcycles around the school. They were advised to move on. At 4:20 p.m. a woman from 17,000 block of Moore's Flat Road reported residential burglary with broken windows and missing money. It was found to be a civil issue. At 5:10 p.m. a man from 11,000 block of Lakeshore South reported that a person who assaulted him several days ago now is pounding on his front door and refusing to go away. At 5:16 p.m. a man from 14,000 block of Lime Kiln Road reported a neighbor was looking in his windows. At 9:35 p.m. a caller from 12,000 block of Mary's Drive reported that dogs had been barking for 40 minutes, possibly due to a bear. At 10:11 p.m. a woman from 10,000 block of Horton Street reported a man banging on the door and making threats. He was arrested on suspicion of trespassing and possessing a controlled substance. And Monday, 1:35 a.m. caller from 11,000 block of Lakeshore South reported loud music. Suspects were admonished. And at 1:40 a.m. a caller from 16,000 block of Meadowbrook Court reported a person yelling and hollering. It was quiet when deputies arrived. At 2:36 a.m. a person was back but could not be located. In Nevada City Police Department on Friday, 11:16 a.m. a caller from Commercial Street reported people on a boardwalk getting rowdy with dogs. At 8:19 p.m. a caller from North Pine and Commercial Streets reported a large group of undesirables singing and making noise and smelling. And Saturday, 11:33 a.m. a caller from 500 Street reported the theft of generic Xanax. And Sunday, 6:35 a.m. a caller from 500 block of Silva Avenue reported a blown transformer. And Monday, 7:03 a.m. a woman from 300 block of Spring Street reported a man attacked her and her vehicle. No crime was found to have occurred. At 7:43 a.m. a caller from Robinson Plaza reported someone built a campfire in the men's bathroom. And that's it for the blotter today. Now another thanks to one of our underwriters, or a couple of them, who support your only visual video news media in Nevada County. That's right, it's us, GVTV News. In today's local news headlines, sharing the warmth, hospital employees donate coats to help those in need. In Grass Valley, Swayze's Hardware and Hobby carries on legacy of Betty's Toy Box. People who work at Dignity Health Sierra Nevada Memorial Hospital strive continually to help patients and families feel safe and comfortable in a medical environment, but now they found a new way to spread warmth. Hospital staff recently contributed about 185 coats to individuals and groups in the community to help them withstand the cold, wintry days of winter. I feel lucky to have been part of this project, said project coordinator Stephanie Creeder, who works in the wellness program. It is so rewarding to be able to do something for others. I truly hope that we have been able to make at least a small difference this year. Creeder says at least 50 physicians, nurses, and other employees contributed to the coat drive. Employee-driven Share the Spirit Committee also donated cash used largely to ensure that a good supply of jackets in sizes appropriate to children and infants would be available. Coats were provided to Hospitality House, Care Crisis Nursery, and Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Coalition, the DVSAC. It's really nice of them to recognize that our clients are a subset of the homeless community. Gail Guest Brown, Executive Director of DVSAC, commented, "We received 7 boxes of coats, jackets, and distribution, and these will help us meet our mission of protecting and caring for women and children impacted by sexual and domestic violence. Organization provides 1,800 shelters, bed nights per year for clients and their children every year," Guest Brown said. She noted that 70% of chronically homeless people self-identify as victims of domestic or sexual violence. This was the hospital's first coat drive, and Creeder hopes it will continue and grow each year. The idea began from a discussion between Creeder and Debbie Wagner, RN, Director of Physician Relations and Community Outreach. For the last 8 years, the Wellness Center has done something during the holiday season to give back to our employees, Creeder said. This year, we decided that we wanted to do something more and to do something that would benefit our employees and the community. Some of the collected coats were distributed to employees in need. Employees were very responsive to this effort, she said. In fact, when asked to contribute, Dr. Brian Evans, Vice President of Medical Affairs, literally removed the coat he was wearing and handed it over. "It was a nice leather jacket," Creeder said. Some employees donated coats to individuals on their own. One little girl that received one of the coats from an employee took the time to draw us a thank you card, which was so sweet and really made us really feel good about what we were trying to do, Creeder added. Some of our employees thanked us for putting the drive together, saying that they were glad to be able to give because of one time they were in a place where they needed help themselves. The hospital started its Share of the Spirit program in 2001 at a suggestion of Kimberly Parker, Executive Director of SNMH Foundation. The organization's first action was to erect a flagpole visible from the freeway and memorialize the victims of the 9/11 tragedy. Since then, Share the Spirit has completed Employee Memorial Garden, supplied funding for whiteboards in every patient's room to provide communications for patients, visitors, and staff, and other projects. Last year, the funds also helped 17 employee families during the holiday seasons. Nearly 140 hospital employees contribute to the fund every year, according to co-chair Lisa Gilbert in the Materials Management Department. "We are a family here. We always help each other out, and this includes helping our neighbors and fellow community members," she shared. All physicians provided care for patients at SNMH are members of the medical staff and are independent practitioners, not employees of the hospital. Our next story, there may not be another business around that sells the unique mixture of goods as Swayze's Hardware and Hobbies. As the name suggests, the store specializes not only in hardware, specifically tools and gardening supplies, but also scratches the hobby itch by offering remote-controlled vehicles from a multitude of popular manufacturers. Owner Mark Swayze wouldn't have it any other way. As a native of Nevada County, Swayze was deep in ties to the community. He graduated from Nevada Union High School in 1986 and served as the president of junior minors football team for several years until stepping down to focus on his business. He's also long been his own employer, working as a landscape contractor in Colorado as well as importing auto parts from Italy. These experiences carried over, he said, when he decided to open up a business locally. But the idea of Swayze's would be what has evolved during its 15 years of operation. When we first started, we were actually just importing gloves and selling them to hardware stores, he said. So we did that for a number of years. And as we added different products to the line, we sold to stores like safety equipment and tarps and tools. What happened was that being in a smaller town like Grass Valley, people would hear about us, so we had a continual flow of walk-in traffic that really started to develop. We're looking forward to serving the community's needs. We're here if someone is looking for something that's not just at the big box store. That's right. Support locals. Shop around here. Good job.